Okay, we left off on Membeis Amid Beis. So we've established the principle, Ein Shlich L'Dvar Aveiro. And therefore, if you send a person who's a pikeach, a competent person, and you tell him go torch somebody's field, the damager has full liability, and the one who sent him has no liability. Why? Because it's based on principle, Divrei Rab, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishomim. Okay, it's going to be interesting in a moment. So at this moment, what is the basis for Ein Shlich L'Dvar Aveira? It's a rational concept. Right? The Gemara is not citing psukim for this. So Gemara asks, well, Tanya, Shliach shlo'osa shlichuso, shliach moel. Now, it's interesting. We speak about something that's consecrated, and you benefit from something that's consecrated. What's the halacha? You have to pay value, the value of the benefit. You have to add a fifth, and you have to bring a korban milah. Okay, you have to bring an osham. It's a guilt offering. It's called osham milos. What about a person knows something's consecrated and he deliberately benefits? You don't pay either. One doesn't pay value, chomesh, meaning it's because it's a kapara. The payment is kapara. When you pay value, the fifth, and the korban, that's all kapara. Kapara only has relevance if it's b'shogeg. It's inadvertent. If you do it deliberately, we don't say it. Then the liabilities, one doesn't say. Doesn't apply. So now, I go and consecrate a bag of money. So I have a bag of money that has the most, or hegdish. The money is hegdish money. Consecrated money. And I say to an agent, I say, go to my house and take bag A. And the person who's sending it made a mistake. Rather than saying bag B, he says bag A. So it's shogeg. So he's telling him to take the money that's hegdish inadvertently and go purchase a shirt for me, a talis, an undergarment, an outer garment, whatever it may be. And the agent knows nothing, as even the one who commissions him. It's all inadvertent, b'shogeg. And he purchases. So now, when he purchases that, now it's interesting. The halacha is, if I go to a storekeeper and I give him the money to borrow, or a person comes to me and wants to borrow money, and what is the status of the money? It's l'chulin. It's yotzei l'chulin. It becomes ordinary money. Right? That's the halacha. Something that's kiddushin, like a coin, you could use it, you could try to acquire it. It remains consecrated. But something which is berek bias, something which its value is only monetary value, so the moment you acquire it, just as when you acquire something, it transfers to the domain of the acquirer. So if you take it and you give the money to the storekeeper, again, shogeg, and for the sake of purchase, or let's say give it to a person to borrow, when the person takes the money becomes automatically ordinary money. It's no longer hegdish. And the one who transferred it out, he's the moil. He's the one who has liability. He has to pay its value, and he has to bring a korban. Okay? Let's say I tell my shliach, take my money and go purchase something. 1 second. The shliach is me. When I give it to the shliach, I haven't yet taken it out of the domain. It's still my money. Right? I believed it's my money. It's all inadvertent. I thought it's my money. So when does the transfer from domain to domain take place? When he takes the money and he uses it to purchase. So when he gives it to the storekeeper for what he was instructed to buy, the moment the storekeeper takes that money, the money is yotzei l'chulin, it becomes ordinary, and that's when the giver, or the one who represented him, he's moil. 1 second. So we see, the Gemara is going to say in a moment, if he carries out the agency as he was instructed, who's moil? The mishaleach, the one who appointed him, the sender, he's moil. So Gemara says, you see clearly, yesh lich dvar aveira. Based on the principle, divrei Rav, divrei Talmud, divrei Mishomim, there should be no liability. And here we see there is liability to the Mishaleach to the sender, right? What happens if I instruct him to buy something and he chooses to buy something else because he thinks the other thing's in the best interest of the world? So then he's not the agency. He's not the agent. Actually, so who's Moel in that case? And he's Motzi L'chulin. He's expending it to a purchase. So even though he doesn't know it's Hegdish, doesn't make a difference. But factually, the act that he's doing, he's transferring it out.
So what's the difference between if the sender gives him a bag of money, or if the sender gives him a bag of money, at that point, it's still a Hegdish.
Because the one who receives it is him.
Right. Okay. So now let's say he takes that bag of money and he gives me a cup of coffee, and he doesn't buy some donuts instead, right?
Did the sender want a cup of coffee?
The sender sending this guy out.
But not for the donut.
For the coffee, and the guy said,
That's like donut coffee. You said he tell you buy me a shirt and a scarf.
at that point, what's the difference between whether he bought the right thing or the wrong thing?
No, because he's not my shliach. No, the question is his action attributed to the sender. If you're representing me, so who's in violation? Who's Moel? The sender. So because you're my shliach. But if he doesn't act as instructed, you're not my agent. I never point you to an agent to buy me a scarf. I asked you to buy me a shirt. So who's Motzi L'chulin? When you go and you expend the money, am I expending the money? You're expending the money.
The money was spent.
But I understand that. What about if somebody takes my money without permission? He spends it, right? No, it's something I don't want. He's the one who's doing. What do I have to do with his action? I'm unrelated to his action. I give him the money as my agent to purchase a shirt. He buys a scarf. Are you my agent to buy a scarf? No. So until you do the purchase, you are me. The moment you act not as instructed, then you're not me. So your action can be attributed to me because you're not my agent.
Even though I told him to take this money and then buy him something, it's still not anything until he buys the right thing.
You act based on instruction. You're not my shliach. So who's going to be Moel? The individual is Moel, because who's Motzi L'chulin? The shliach. So therefore, we call him shliach, but he's not the shliach because he's not following instructions.
Right, so what is it?
He's an independent player. So he's Moel.
He's spending Hegdish money.
He's the one who's expending it, transferring it out of the domain of Hegdish.
What if he's buying the shirt, but before he gives it to the merchant, the person who sent him realized there was Hegdish money?
Let's not get complicated. Let's first establish the principles here. We'll talk about if he knew. What about the sender's the mazid and the shlich is the shogi? We'll see. That's Tosas talks about. That's the question. I'm just setting the principles in what are the parameters. It has to be in the context of shogeg, right? But even shogeg, that's only if he follows my instruction. He doesn't follow my instruction, he's not my shliach. Because factually, he's not my shliach.
Let's say I give you money, I say, here, buy me a shirt. Doesn't it go out the hole as soon as I gave you the money? Doesn't matter.
I just explained it to you because if I gave it to you, there's no transfer of domain. You're me. You're representing me. If you take money from your right hand, put it in your left hand. Did you take it out of Shus Hegdish? My left hand is the same as my right hand. It's a different hand. When I give to the shliach is not another person. The shliach is me. When he goes and he transfers it to another domain, he's transferring it out of the domain. That's Milo. He's not choosing it for chulin. He's purchasing. There's a Gemara. There's a Gemara in a show in Bava Metzia. What about a person has an axe, consecrated an axe, and mistakenly he went and lent the axe to another person. He thought it was his axe. He forgot he consecrated. Gives to another person. So, is the axe Yotzei L'chulin? Right? So it says it's not Yotzei L'chulin. Meaning, the one who uses it has to, what's his name? To the degree that the person benefited, it's what you have to reimburse Hegdish. But the axe is not Yotzei L'chulin. So Tosas explained it's very simple. Over there, I lent the axe. When I take the money, I want to purchase something. A purchase means I'm transferring the money into another domain. When I give a person the axe to use, I'm not transferring the axe into his domain, that it should be his axe. He's using my axe. Wait 1 second, okay? He's using my wood. Breaking is something else. You're not liable for damaging Hegdish. There's no such thing as it being a damager. It's only benefiting. You only have to. The value is based on benefit. So over there, what's benefit? Benefit's what I benefit from using the axe. So over there, the intent of the lender wasn't to transfer the axe into another domain, that it should become the borrower's. A borrower means using my axe. So therefore, it's lefi hano. There, it's based. The laws of Mila is based on the degree that you benefited from the axe. Well, $5 a day. Well, the usual case. Firstly, right now, what is the basis of Shlich Varavera? Which we came up with a logical reason, right? Evidently, the Torah says differently. We see from the pasuk, we don't follow that logic. That even though you say Divrei Arab, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishom, the Torah says differently. So if you have pasuk versus logic, you follow the pasuk. No, but that's every memotzinu. Memotzinu, if the Torah states the case, and there's no reason to differentiate case A and case B, you follow that. That's the model. That's the model to draw from that. No, we see over there Yesh Lich Varavera. Okay, we'll see. Gemara says, Shliach shlo osi shlichus shliach moal. If the agent did not carry out the agency of the one who sent him, so who's moel? The shliach. Osi shlichuso. What happens if he did carry out the agency? Balabais moal. Why is the balabais moel? Why is he the one who's liable? As if he benefited from hegdish. Ki osi shlichuso, the balabais, because he carried out the agency of the balabais. So the Gemara says, but factually, balabais mi amal. But what does it say in the Mishnah? Factually, the balabais is moel. Amai, but if you're telling me within the context of Aveira, we don't apply the principle of Shlichus, name ain't Shlich Levar Aveira, right? So why do we say it? If the laws of agency don't apply in the context of Aveira, regardless whether he carries out the agency or not, he cannot represent him. On that, the Gemara says no. Shiny Mi'ila, the Yalfa Chet Mitruma. I have a Gzera Shava, it says Chet, we'll see Rashi in a minute, by Mi'ila, and it says Chet by Truma. And therefore, just as by Truma, that is what was the model of Shlichus. You can make a Shliach in regard to there. Therefore, here also, Ma Truma Mashri Shliach, Af Mila Mashri Shliach. So Rashi says, what's Chet Chet? The Rov Devarim he limuda mitrum sachs Mila ksiv hocha v'choto mishkoga mikoche Hashem. He sinned inadvertently from what was consecrated to Hashem. That's Mila, right? Only b'shogig. Uchsiv b'truma, ba'ochla b'shogig. Person eats truma inadvertently. So this is what we call tashlimi truma. You have to, when you eat truma inadvertently, again, a person eats truma, a non-kohen, deliberately. What are you? You have to. If it belongs to the kohen, you're a mazik. Let's say you tithed it, you didn't give it to the kohen, you ate it. So it's not a financial liability, right? No. He ate it deliberately. You don't have to do anything. Nothing. What about you ate it inadvertently? The halach is you have to take a species which can be truma, and you set it aside, say, this is to replace what I ate. When you replace it, it becomes truma. The chulin becomes truma. Although this was never tithed initially as truma. In addition, you have to add a fifth. So it's value plus a fifth of the species of produce, which becomes that. But that's only b'shogi. If you ate it b'mezid, what? Everything becomes truma. That becomes truma. Okay? But if you ate it b'mezid, not so. Just as over there it says, the same thing. Ba'ochla b'shogi v'lo yiso lo v'chet. So just as over there, and just as we say by truma, we say the law of shlichus. Here also we say the law of shlichus. Even though It's a context of Aveira. Good.
I understand because here you're talking about the Gila, which is innately, you're not allowed to do this. Truma, there's aspects of, obviously, you're supposed to do Truma. Here, Gila is, by definition, you're not allowed to do it.
1 second.
So
Wait, 1 second. 1 second. It's Gzera Shava. If a Memotzino, if A is this, we say this by B. It's not based on a Memotzino. It's not comparison. You don't ask on a Gzera. Torah says if there are two words and they were given at Sinai to associate one with another, what applies to A applies to B. That's what the Torah is saying. Like or unlike, it's irrelevant, right? So it's just as by Truma we say Shlichus, by Milu we say Shlichus. Okay? So now we have the question. David, this addresses what you asked. V'neilif minoch. So the Gemara asks. There you go. V'neilif minoch. So, what do we say the principle is? Ein shlich v'araver. You're telling me here it's Gzeres HaKosuf. Because I have a Gzeres Shava. Let's learn from here to the whole Torah. Yesh shlich v'araver. Right? This should be the example, the case regarding shlichus, that even in the context of air, we say shlich v'aravera. On that, the Gemara says, "B'shum davi milo shlichus yad shnei ksum bon ke'echad." If this is the example, it's not the this is the rule, not the exception to the rule. What does that have to repeat itself? Torah doesn't. There's nothing superfluous in the Torah. So if there's nothing superfluous in the Torah, it's enough to say it once. This is the rule, and I draw from this all over. So why does Torah have to repeat it in another context? That it's yesh shlich v'aravera. We already know the principle, right? Mila is the rule. That is the example. That's the model of the rule. So why does Torah have to repeat it by shlichus yad, which we'll discuss in a moment? Also, we say shlich v'aravera. No, we came up with a logic. So that's not a principle. Of course, it shows the Torah doesn't reckon what you think. Right? We don't deal with the logic. So we have a rule. The rule is yesh shlich v'aravera mila. And we know there's nothing superfluous in the Torah. Torah doesn't repeat itself. So the Torah doesn't repeat itself. Why does it have to repeat itself? In regard to shlichus yad, which we'll discuss in a moment. So evidently, the rule is ein shlich v'aravera. These are the exceptions to the rule. How many exceptions are? A, B, C, D, whatever they are. Right? The two exceptions. Mila is one exception. Shlichus yad is another exception. Okay? Before we go further, let's just try to understand. The way Tosas understands, what is the principle of Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud, Divrei Mishomim? The one who commissions the agent could say, I never thought he would carry through. So therefore, even when I said he's my agent, I wasn't serious when I appointed my agent. When I appointed him, because I never thought he'd carry out my agency. Correct? If that's the principle, and that's fact, what do you mean the Torah says differently? We see yesh shlich v'aravera. You understand what I'm saying? If actually, let's say I appoint a person to do an avera. Let's say we say yesh shlich v'aravera. And then afterwards I cancel the agency. I cancel it. You can't force a person to be my agent if I don't want him to represent me. Correct? So if the principle of ein shlich v'aravera is divrei Rav, divrei Talmud Mishomim, when I tell a person to transgress the Torah, to violate the Torah on my behalf, and the person says, when he says it, he says, and I am not serious what I mean, because I don't believe he's going to do it. That's why he makes such a declaration. Is there even a consideration that he's his agent? He said openly, I don't consider this having any value, because I don't believe he's going to carry it out. Wait a second. Before we have some nachlokas, let's try to understand just simple understanding here. Right? So if he would make such a declaration, it's not even a consideration. So here we say, we have a principle, Divrei Rav, Divrei Talmud Mishomim, which is this, what I'm saying now. You know, but we have Gzeres HaKosuf Mi'ila, that we say yesh shlich v'aravera. I mean, factually, what the Torah is forcing a shlich on me. How could the Torah force somebody to be my agent? I don't want to be my agent.
No, but one case is known, one case is unbeknown. So,
What do you mean unbeknown?
like when in the case of Mila, the examples that we gave.
So is the pasuk saying that my evaluation of people's minds are not that evaluation?
Give effect to your words. Give effect to your words. If I appoint someone to do something for me,
You mean it.
we mean it.
What do you mean you mean it? But I know you don't mean it.
People just talk nonsense every day.
I don't think.
People make statements
I don't think he's going to carry it out. So what? So, wait a second. There's a machlokes remain the Rabbi Yossi. Yeah. So what is the machlokes remain the Chachamim? Other motzi dvar levatolim? No, it's not. The Gemara doesn't even get involved here with that. It has nothing to do with this. The person say things. Is he serious? Not serious. We could say it. Dvar Aveira, he doesn't think he's going to carry it out. Torah says he will. What do we? So we're talking about our evaluation is mistaken. Is that what Torah? That's definitely not what the Gemara is saying. Definitely not what the Gemara is saying. So what's the pasuk? You see from the pasuk Yishlich Dvar Aveira. So you see the principle Devarim Devarim Talmud Mishomim is not a valid. See, we discussed yesterday. There's a question. What is that principle? Is the principle therefore the Mishalech, the commissioner, is not serious? Didn't mean what he said because he didn't think the person was to carry out? Or no? It's a concept. If God wants you to do something, and the subject says differently, do you think God wants agency should be applied in that context? It has nothing to do with the seriousness of the person.
The agency doesn't exist.
The law of agency is a novel concept. Shlichus is a novel concept. It was introduced in 3 locations. Okay. Now the question: where do I apply it? Do I apply it to Dvar Aveira? Did Hashem say it in the context of Aveira? He says, if Hashem wants you to do something and the subject says contrary, do you think God wants the law of agency to apply in that situation? Has nothing to do with your sincerity. I believe He's going to carry it out. He will carry it out. But it's around what you believe. Torah says this concept is only in a context where you're doing something permitted. When you're doing something forbidden, it doesn't apply. Why not? You know why? Because because if Hashem wants you to do something and the subject says doesn't want you to do it, do you listen to God? Do you listen to the subject? It has nothing to do with the sincerity. So therefore, even we discussed there are more rules regarding shlich levar aveira. If the person you commission is a mumer, he's an apostate. The Ramah says in Shulchan Aruch, we say shlich levar aveira. So the Ramah clearly is learning the principle of divrei tam mishomim. It's what? It's based on does he believe the man is actually carrying out his agency? But not everybody agrees with the Ramah. Others disagree and say even if the man is an apostate, the laws of shlichus have no relevance to a dvar aveira. Why? Because if God tells you to do something, does it make sense? Hashem says the law of agency is applicable in that context. Definitely not. Okay. Right? It was never said. That reveals to me it was never said in that context. So then it's good to Gemara. How could you tell me shlichus doesn't apply because we have this principle? Therefore, it would be illogical to say Hashem would want shlichus to be applied even in that context. But we do find it. We see by Milah, even though it's contrary to the will of Hashem, we see the laws of shlichus being applied. Right? So it's very. If you learn like that, the question. But if you say it's a logical concept, as the Ramah learns, and therefore a mumer and Tosas, which we will see, also is of that opinion, that if the shliach is unaware that he's doing the wrong thing, and the mishalech, the commissioner, is aware, there is a law of agency. So if that's the case, so what's the pasuk tell me differently? It's the equivalent of saying, I don't want him to be my shliach, or I never was sincere when I appointed him to my shliach. So you have to understand what's the Gemara asking. What's the Gemara asking from Elo? No, the pasuk should be factually. How could I have liability if he's not my shliach? Right? If he's not my shliach, why should I have liability? If I never, because it was a context of Aveira, I never was sincere when I appointed because I never thought he'd carry through. So that means he's not representing me. He's not representing me. It has no relevance to shlichus.
But with that logic, you can only say if the shliach knows what's happening. If he has no idea, then
But that's what I just said.
Right. So if he doesn't know, then why shouldn't this concept of shliach apply? Why shouldn't it apply?
See, we'll have Tosis. We'll see Tosis in a moment. Right? See, the only way we can answer this, right? If you learn the other way, the question is not a question. It's just a concept. Would God want the law of shlichus to be applied where you're doing something contrary to His will? Logically, I'd say no. But we see the Torah says, despite that, yes. Right? That was the Gemara's question. So on that, the Gemara's answer is, Milah is the exception to the rule. Under normal circumstances, not. Milah is the exception. How do I know it's the exception? Because Torah repeats itself by also regarding shlichus yad. Otherwise, Torah, if it's the rule, Torah wouldn't repeat itself, right? But let's talk about the actual application is based on the logic. So if it's based on the logic, so how does the Torah disprove the logic? If logically that's a reality, and a fact, but you ask me Milo, so evidently you have to say Milo is something else. That the law to be liable when you tell somebody to do an Aveira, he doesn't have to be your shliach. Doesn't have to be literally your agent. Normally we say Grama bin Nizokin is potter, right? If causality, the court cannot prosecute you. Regarding monetary, if I go and through causality, through Grama, I cause somebody damage, right? You're not liable. You're not liable. For instance, to give you an example, Momen Hamazik. I have an animal and I don't watch it. I don't act responsibly to watch it, and it goes out and damages. The owner of the animal has liability. What does he have a liability? Did you cause the damage? You didn't cause the damage. You go and you take a hammer or a stone, you throw it and break someone's window, damage somebody's property. That's what we call kocho. Your power is behind the stone, right? Therefore, you damaged. Adamud lolam. You personally have full liability. You're responsible for your behavior. But it's my money. That's grumma. Wasn't that grumma? Because I didn't watch my animal caused damage. So the answer is, it's Chiddush Torah. It's called Momen Hamazik. The Torah says that even your asset, if you're responsible to take care of it and you don't, you have full liability as if you're the damager yourself. That's what the Torah says. That's called Momen Hamazik, but that's a Chiddush Torah. Your money is an extension of yourself, your asset. But let's say you have a case where the Mishnah speaks, in Bava Kama speaks about a case, in the middle of the night, thieves break into your barn was closed. They break in your barn, they left the door open, the animal goes out, and it damages. You have no liability. Because when is Momen Hamazik? When do you have liability when your asset damages? Because you didn't act responsibly to prevent it. But here, in the middle of the night, I was sleeping. Did I know the barn door was broken open? I had no idea. So therefore, the Torah doesn't hold you responsible when your asset damages from Momen Hamazik. But if it would be you being mazik, adamud lolam, a person, if he personally is the one involved in damage, he has full liability regardless. No excuses. Bein shogig, bein mezid, bein ones, bein rotzen, at all levels you have responsibility. So over here, so grumma also. Grumma is not, it's not Momen Hamazik, but it's causality. You cause the damage to take place. I'll give you an example, one example which is discussed. You go and you have a paraduma, right? An animal, it's worth a fortune. And you go and you take food and you put it on the other side of a barbed wire fence. And now the animal naturally is going to put its head through the barbed wire to get the food, pulls its head back, it becomes a balmum. You know what level of damage you caused this man? It's worth a fortune. Well, paraduma, it's one of a kind. In generations you don't have it. Is the man liable? Right? Well, that's called causality. Court cannot prosecute him for being a damager. I created a scenario where the animal is going to react to the food, and then the consequences he's going to be, but who damaged the animal? The animal damaged itself. Did I damage the animal? I created a setting for the animal to be damaged. No, it's the kochel means my powers. I throw a stone. The stone is me. Because my power is in the stone. The animal did everything on its own. I created a setting so this should happen. That's grama or garmi. Okay? Regarding shlichut, milo, or anything, dvar avera, we see the Torah says, you didn't think he would be carried out because it's a dvar avera. But factually, why did he actually do it? Why did he do it? You said it. You set it in motion. Setting avera in motion is sufficient to be liable. That his action should be attributed to you. Even though you could say, I didn't know what, when, he wasn't definitely, even though it's not definite is enough to be the equivalent of definite when it comes to avera. That's what the Torah is saying over here. No, that's enough to be your shaliach. The man didn't say, I definitely did not appoint it to be my shaliach. Person makes the declaration, I don't want it to be my shaliach. That's a different story. But here the fact is, I didn't think he would carry it out. I wasn't sufficiently serious. But factually, he sent him this and that. Well, he's acting on his own accord. Torah says no, but it's intermingled with you sending him. You sent him, you have full liability.
Is there a difference between this logic where a person thinks he's not going to lay it out? If I pay somebody, I said $1,000 to assassinate someone, so that logic automatically falls off. Because
What you tell an honest man to assassinate? Is he going to assassinate someone?
let's say he's not an honest, he's an assassin.
You're sure he's a mafia? The halach is you tell a mafia, according to Ramah, to assassinate. The sender is liable for the death penalty.
But the other opinion that holds that even in that case, like how would we reconcile?
He's not.
You're sure he's going to
Ain't shlich levar aveiro.
no matter what.
The laws of shlichus have no relevance to dvar aveiro. The only way it can be attributed because he's me. He's not me. His action's unrelated to me. The only way his action is attributed to me because there's a principle of shlichus. But the Torah says shlichus is only in a context of where you're doing something permitted, has no relevance. He can say his action is not me.
But if you pay money, that logic falls off because
What do you mean pay money? It's still not a logic. Not a logic over here. It's a concept of shlichus.
the person's not going to be able to say that I didn't think he's going to carry it out. He
No,
thought that-
again, are we going according to? There's nothing. If he's a mafia, if you hold that a mummer, you say yesh shlich dvar aveiro,
then it doesn't matter.
right? And if you hold not, then the laws of shlichus don't apply, regardless what you think. Now it's interesting. There's a famous, very famous Torah read. Even when Mr. Glick learned kiddushin in Torah Vadas as a young boy, this Tosus read was said. It's a very famous Tosus read. We say shlichus if you appoint an agent to put on tefillah on your behalf, right? You know, you could be in the office 3 in the morning till 12 midnight. You don't say Kriya Shema, you don't put on tefillin, nothing. Look, I'll pay you. It's worth my while. I'll have somebody daven for me, put tefillin on, eat matzah, sit in the sukkah, and you'll be wherever you want to be. You go straight to Olam Haba, finished. It's a worthwhile investment, okay? So why don't we say shlichus regarding everything, and it's a dvar mitzvah. Let's say shlichus shem kamosa. Why don't we say it? Right? So there's a question, so the Tosas read answers. So the answer is because it's a mitzvah shebegufo. But the question is what that means. The Torah wants, you should eat the matzah, you should put on the tefillin, you should sit in the sukkah, you should say the Kriya Shema. It's not, you cannot delegate it through an agent. Why not? Why not? If everything can be delegated through an agent, why can't this be delegated through an agent? So this is the way the Tzosach Hoshen learns. He says something beautiful. The law of shlichus is the action is attributed to you. Torah says tefillin, you must put tefillin on your hand. Shlichus doesn't mean to say his hand is your hand. His action is your action. Right? His tefillin is your tefillin. So we ask, after everything's said and done, did you put tefillin on your hand? Did the matzah go down your gullet? Was your body in the sukkah? Factually not. Well, his action is your action. Torah says I'm not interested. His action should be your action. Well, we'll transfer his sitting in the sukkah. It should be your sitting. Torah doesn't want that. Torah wants you to be in the sukkah. Torah wants you to eat the matzah. Torah wants you to put a tefillin on your arm. That's not shlichus. That goes beyond shlichus. Therefore, regarding, that's called mitzvah shebegufo. Right? Kiddushin. What's kiddushin? You give money to a woman in marriage, and he's authorized to marry the woman on behalf of the Mishaleach, so what are you doing? Torah says, if a man gives money to a woman in marriage, and she accepts the money, so that means the action of giving money is marriage. Did you give money? I gave money. Did she receive money? She received money. Doesn't say has to be in our hand. Does not be in our hand. Even though it says v'nosim biyoda, yoda, it doesn't mean biyoda. It means the action of receiving has to be the equivalent of that. It's the action. But if it has to be the person himself, and that's why we have a machlokas poskim, milo. Right? Mitzvah la'av loma lisbeno. Father has an obligation to circumcise his son. What happens if the father cannot circumcise his son? Is it? Could you commission an agent, a shliach? Is it mitzvah shebegufo, not a mitzvah shebegufo? Maybe the Torah says you should do the action. It's not your hand has to remove the foreskin. The action is attributed to it. That's enough. That's all Torah is asking. Give tzedakah. You gave the tzedakah. Okay, that's enough. You did the milah. But if the Torah says no, it's not. We want you that you should do the milah. your hand has to do the actual cutting, like the tefillin has to be on your hand, the matzah has to go down your gullet, then that has no relevance to shlichus. So that's a machlokes poskim. Do we say shlichus by milah? Don't we say shlichus by milah? That's an argument. What's the basis? So they base on Rishonim. So you have to know where the Rishonim get it from. So argument had no shot in the Rosh in Chulin. Rosh is in Chulin. The Gemara, the Mishnah says in Kisi Adam that Torah says v'shochat v'chisa. You slaughter the bird or the chaya, and you must cover its blood. What happens if somebody goes and steals the mitzvah from the? So whose mitzvah is it? It's the shochet. The shochet's mitzvah. Somebody goes and takes earth and covers the blood. He preempts the one who has the right to the mitzvah and denies him the mitzvah. Rabbinically, he's penalized. He has to pay Yud Zuhuvim. Aser Zuhuvim, 10 gold coins, is a penalty for denying the one who had the right to do the mitzvah. He denied him what was rightfully his. Okay? So Rush speaks about a case. A father appoints a person to be a moel, rabbi, whatever his name is, and then, or reverend, whatever you want to call him, and then a third person goes, preempts the moel, he does the circumcision without the permission of the father. The Rosh says he doesn't have to pay Yud Zuhuvim. The third person, although he stole the mitzvah from the first, he doesn't pay Yud Zuhuvim. So the Ktsos and Shach, why not? Factually, it was the father's mitzvah. Now that the third party and the father delegated through a shliach, so if the mold would have done it, who would have received credit for the milah? The father. Now the third party goes, preempts him, and denies him that right. Rosh says he doesn't pay Yud Zuhuvim. He's not penalized. Why not? But he denied him. It would have been his mitzvah if the shliach would have done it. So from here you see clearly that's not the case. That it's something you cannot delegate. See from the Rosh, it's a mitzvah shebagufo. Because if you could delegate it to shliach, he denied the father because the father would have the mitzvah through the shliach. Okay? To be continued.